Welcome to the Sukoon Project, where every story brings peace, purpose, and the courage to become the best version of yourself. Imagine one morning your phone rings, you receive news that changes your life forever. Someone you love is gone. You somehow gather the strength to move forward. Days become weeks, weeks become months. The pain slowly begins to settle. And just when you think life might finally become normal again, another tragedy arrives, and then another, and another. Not because you made a mistake, not because you deserved it, simply because life can sometimes be incredibly unfair. Now, let me ask you something. How much heartbreak can one human being survive? What point do we simply stop believing? At what point do we tell ourselves, I've had enough? Today's story is about a woman who faced that very question, not once, not twice, but over and over again. She lost almost everything a person could lose, yet somehow she never lost herself. This isn't a story about politics. It isn't a story about becoming the President of India. It's a story about what happens when life strips away everything you thought you couldn't live without, and you still find the courage to stand up. This is the story of Droupadi Murmu. Namaste. Welcome back to the Sukoon Project. I'm your host, Varun Kapur. Over the last two episodes, we've explored two extraordinary journeys. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam reminded us that dreams have the power to change our destiny. Arunima Sinha showed us that no mountain is bigger than the human spirit. Today, we're talking about something different because sometimes the greatest battle isn't against failure, it isn't against poverty, it isn't against criticism. Sometimes the greatest battle is against grief. And if you've ever lost someone, if you've ever felt life become unbearably heavy, today's episode is for you. Long before the world knew her name, Draupadi Murmu lived a very ordinary life. She was born in a small Santal tribal village in Orissa. There was no privilege, no political dynasty, no wealth, no extraordinary opportunities. Like millions of children growing up in rural India, she learned the value of hard work early. Education wasn't simply a pathway to success, it was hope. She studied with determination, eventually becoming a teacher. And if you've ever met a truly great teacher, you'll notice something. The greatest joy isn't personal achievement, it's helping someone else believe in themselves. That became her purpose. Service, quite service. Not for applause, not for recognition, simply because helping others mattered. Little did she know, life was preparing her for a test that very few people could ever imagine. When we see successful people, we often assume life has been kind to them. We see the destination, we rarely see the storms. Within just a few years, Draupadi Murmu experienced unimaginable loss. She lost her husband, then she lost one of her sons. Imagine trying to recover from that. Imagine trying to smile again. Imagine trying to wake up each morning. Before the wounds had fully healed, life dealt another devastating blow. She lost her second son. Think about that for a moment. No parent ever imagines burying one's child. She had to bury two. As if that wasn't enough, she also lost her mother, and later, her brother. One tragedy after another, one funeral after another, one empty chair after another. The silence inside a home after loss is unlike anything words can describe. Whenever tragedy strikes, most of us ask the same question: why me? It's one of the most human questions there is. Why now? Why my family? Why my child? Why this pain? There are no easy answers. There never are. But here's what makes Draupadi Murmu's story extraordinary. She didn't spend her life searching for answers she would never receive. Instead, she searched for purpose. She understood something many of us spend decades trying to learn. Pain may visit us without permission, but purpose is always our choice. There is a quote I love: courage isn't having the strength to go on, it is going on when you don't have the strength. That describes her journey perfectly. She could have stepped away from public life. She could have isolated herself. She could have allowed grief to consume every remaining part of her life. Nobody would have blamed her. Instead, she chose to continue serving others. Can you imagine that? Helping other people when your own heart is broken? Sometimes the greatest healing doesn't come from looking inward, it comes from helping someone else. We live in a world that often celebrates loud success: big speeches, big personalities, big headlines. But resilience is usually quiet. Resilience looks like getting out of bed when you don't feel like it. It looks like going to work when your heart is heavy. It looks like showing kindness, even when life hasn't been kind to you. Strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes strength simply whispers, I'll try again tomorrow. That's the kind of strength Draupadi Murmu represents. Years passed, responsibilities grew, people began recognizing her integrity, her humility, her compassion, her ability to listen. Leadership followed naturally, not because she chased power, but because people trusted her character. Eventually, she became the President of India. Think about that journey from a tribal village to the highest constitutional office in the world's largest democracy. It's an extraordinary achievement. But if you ask me, her greatest achievement wasn't becoming president, it was refusing to let grief define her identity. That required far more courage. Here's something I've been thinking about lately. We celebrate visible victories: winning awards, getting promotions, building successful businesses. But there are victories nobody sees: choosing not to give up, choosing to smile again, choosing to forgive, choosing to believe that life still has meaning. Those invisible victories may be the greatest victories of all because they happen inside the human heart. And that's where real transformation begins. I learned three lessons from Draupadi Murmu. Lesson 1: life will test every one of us. Not everyone will face the same challenges, but everyone will face challenges. Don't ask, why is this happening? Ask, what is the teaching? What is it teaching me? Sometimes the lesson is stronger than the pain. Lesson 2: your circumstances don't define your character, your response does. You cannot always control what happens, but you can always choose who you become. Lesson 3: purpose is stronger than pain. Pain asks us to stop. Purpose gives us a reason to continue. Whenever life feels overwhelming, find one person you can help, one conversation, one act of kindness, one small contribution. Sometimes helping others becomes the first step towards healing ourselves. Today, I want you to pause for a moment. Think about someone you've lost, someone who shaped your life. Now ask yourself one simple question. If they could see me today, would they be proud of how I'm living? If the answer is yes, keep going. If the answer is no, today is the perfect day to begin again. Because honoring those we've lost isn't about holding on to sadness, it's about living in a way that reflects the values they gave us. Droupadi Murmu teaches us something beautiful. Strength isn't the absence of pain, strength is choosing hope, even while carrying pain. Strength isn't pretending everything is okay, it's believing tomorrow is still worth living for. Life may take people we love, life may change our plans, life may break our hearts, but it never gets to decide who we become. Only we can make that choice. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Sukoon Project, Becoming Unstoppable. If today's episode touched your heart, please share it with someone who may be carrying invisible grief. You never know. One story, one conversation, one moment of hope could change someone's life. Next week, we'll explore the remarkable journey of a young man who arrived in Mumbai with nothing but belief. No film background, no influential family, just relentless determination. And against every prediction, he became one of the biggest entertainers in the history of cinema. We'll discover the extraordinary story of Shah Rukh Khan and why belief is often the most powerful, even powerful than talent. Until then, remember this: life doesn't ask whether we are ready for hardship, it simply arrives. But every single day, we get one choice: to give up or to grow. Choose growth, choose hope, choose purpose. I'm Varun Kapur. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired, stay grateful, and above all, become unstoppable.